Okay, now.
Are we live?
Yes.
Good morning, and thank you for joining this webinar, in which we will have the opportunity to discuss, from the point of view of the end users, some new approaches to smart buildings and energy flexibility. My name is Fulvio Bernardini. I oversee communication and dissemination activities for the Smart2B project, and today I will cover the role of moderator, representing at the same time the EU4BET cluster of projects. Now, a short introduction to the cluster. COLLECTiEF, PRECEPT, PRELUDE, and SATO and Smart2B are 5 projects that are part of the research and innovation programs promoted by the European Commission, which address, in particular, social challenges and challenges at an industrial level. While social challenges focus on the introduction of secure, clean, and efficient energy using components and systems with built-in intelligence, challenges at an industrial level aim at introducing technologies that enable smart buildings with a low environmental impact. Sharing the same set of societal and technological challenges, COLLECTiEF, PRECEPT, PRELUDE, SATO, and Smart2B decided to form the EU4BET cluster. EU4BET stands for EU for Buildings Energy Transition. We basically join forces to activate a virtuous circle that can foster the exchange of knowledge and increase, towards the general public and the stakeholders, awareness of the European energy transition initiatives. And of course, clustering between European funded projects is in fact an important aspect and is part of the European Commission's guidelines to achieve better results in the projects. For us, the EU4BET cluster, joining forces as projects provide a series of advantages. First, define a knowledge-sharing framework around common goals. Then, increase the outreach of each project's activities and enhance the visibility of the European Commission's efforts towards energy transition. Then, again, enhance and rationalize communication and dissemination and stakeholders' engagement activities. Ultimately, strengthen the relationship between our projects. Today's webinar is part of a series of joint initiatives that the cluster will be carrying out in the next months and years. Now, regarding today's webinar, the session's objective is to highlight the end user point of view on these 5 ambitious projects. Through the stories of the pilots involved in each project, we will be able to discuss the implementation of the different solutions and see firsthand what kind of benefits smart building can bring to the users. Starting in a few moments, contributions from CINEA and ECTP will provide us with an overview on the current situation in terms of active smart building projects at the European level and on the efforts to engage and direct European research towards a common agenda. Following, we'll move to the heart of this session, the project pilot experiences, which is basically the end user's point of view. Each project will be introduced by a short video made by the pilot. Then representatives from the projects will provide an insight on the initiative. The webinar, as said, will end with the Q&A session. Now, just a few practical information before we begin. The webinar will be recorded, so we'll find the video on each of the EU4BET project websites in the next few days, in case you're interested in learning more or go back again on certain topics. As said, the Q&A session will be held at the end of our presentations. You can, however, write down your questions in the chat during the session, indicating to whom of the speakers you would like to pose it. Don't worry, because we will take care of keeping track of the questions, so hopefully we will be able to address all the questions that will arrive. Now, I therefore pass the word to the first speaker, which is Stavros Stamatikos. Stavros is a project manager at the Horizon Europe Energy Unit of CINEA. He will provide us with an overview on the ongoing smart building projects in the frame of the H2020 and Horizon Europe. Stavros.
Hello, good morning, everyone. Sorry, okay. So, hello, good morning. I'm very happy to be here. I'm very happy to be the project officer of Smart2B, who is organizing this session. And I was asked by Nuno to give an overview of ongoing smart buildings projects. but also give a hint, an indication of what's on the political stage. Although it's not my position, we have a very close collaboration with our policy officer at DGNR. So I can give you an overview of what's going on at the political level. So I will start with an overview of the digitalization of the energy system and smart buildings developments. Then I will give an overview of ongoing research and innovation projects on smart buildings, and I will close with some upcoming funding opportunities in this area. As you know, at CINEA, we manage a number of programs. Our program is Horizon Europe, but you can see that the LIFE program, for example, Connecting Europe facility, they have very strong sub-programs on digitalization. So I just wanted to mention that it's not only Horizon Europe that funds relevant projects. My team is managing the 3 destinations of Cluster 5 on batteries, energy supply, renewable energies, biofuels, and buildings. And specifically, I am working on Destination 4 and in buildings. So I would like to draw your attention on the latest political development, the EU Action Plan on Digitalization of the Energy System that was recently adopted in October 22. As you know, our energy system requires a deep transformation, and digitalization will play a key role in accelerating the energy sector and help consumers save on their bills. Smart buildings, smart meters, electric vehicles, Internet of Things, etc. They provide key information that will allow building users to monitor their energy consumption, increase renewable integration, and reduce their costs. This is why the Commission has put in place an action plan to digitalize the energy system. This is built around 5 key areas. The first one is to promote connectivity, interoperability, and exchange of data between different actors that participate in the energy system. The second area is to foster more and better coordinated investments in the electricity grid as an enabler for the smarter and more resilient energy system. The third area is to empower consumers, including the most vulnerable or those with low digital skills, to benefit from the new generation of the energy system, to benefit from the energy transition and having access to better services and lower bills. The fourth area is to enhance cybersecurity of the energy system. I will come to that later. And the fifth area is to address the energy consumption of digital technologies and overall the ICT sector. As you know, the ICT sector accounts about for 7% of global electricity consumption and is forecast to increase to 13% by 2030. A smaller segment of this ICT center is data centers, which have a key role in this action plan, since they account for about 2.5% of EU electricity demand. So what are the next steps from this action plan? I will not go in all of this in detail. You can find them in the link that I provided in the previous slide. But for each of the 5 key areas, you can see that there are a mix of funding, legislative actions, and communication campaigns towards the end users. For example, for sharing data, the European Commission is working towards the deployment of the Common European Energy Data Space and a number of acts to improve interoperability and demand response markets. In the area of digital electricity infrastructure, the European Commission will support the EU TSOs and DSOs to create a digital twin of the European electricity grid. In the key area related to the consumers, there will be some experimentation platforms and communication campaigns. Very important, the fourth area on cybersecurity and resilience of the energy system. Some legal acts will improve the cybersecurity of cross-border electricity flows and gas flows. And finally, and maybe one of the most important areas on what we're discussing is the energy consumption of the ICT sector. A huge effort will be put there in terms of funding, innovation, to improve the energy efficiency of the ICT sector, which is growing increasingly. You can see here areas, sub-areas of the ICT sector, like the data centers, blockchain, that are really worrying. So I'm moving from the energy system to the buildings, and the objective here is that buildings become smart to fully contribute to the achievements of 2030 and 2050 targets. There are three objectives around about buildings. One is to achieve high energy efficiency by optimal operation of the buildings. The second is to strengthen demand-side flexibility, and the third to ensure of course, fulfillment of the user needs. Users are in the center of attention in this action plan. What are the actions towards the vision? The EU Action Plan is highlighting access to more and better data for better consumer information, effective management of energy grids, and innovative energy services, business models, and financing schemes. This will come in with three tools. One is the revision of the EPPD, where several provisions are added, for example, the smart readiness indicator, and I will come to that in my next slide. And the second is the eco-design and energy label regulations, where we investigate the relevance of possible additional regulations on energy smart appliances, building automation and control systems. And talking about building automation and control systems, these are some of the provisions that will come in the next EPPD. For example, the definition of building an automation and control system will change, and the requirement for automation will be widened. I think now it's for buildings of a total capacity of 270 kilowatts. It will come down to 70 kilowatts, so much smaller buildings. The technical building systems will have to be designed according to typical conditions, and there will be provisions for installation of temperature controls and internal environmental quality controls. Of course, electromobility is at the center of the new EPPD. There will be provisions of minimum charging points, ducting and pre-cabling in new and existing buildings. Probably you'll know on the smart readiness indicator that looks at three sides of the buildings on optimization of energy use, adaptations to the needs of the occupant, and adaptation to signals from the grids. Probably today or early next week, you will receive an invitation from me on a training that we're having in mid-January about the implementation of smart readiness indicator. And finally, about data exchange. So it's very, very important that all actors, all involved actors have access to data. This involves building owners, tenants, managers, third parties, and other eligible parties, always taking very, very seriously the privacy and security of this data. So these are some further provisions on the next EPPD. It's about an updating energy performance certification scheme. The methodology will be possibly harmonized or at least at the level of scales between all EU countries, so that buildings can be easily comparable between countries. And of course, the methodology will be updated to clarify the use of metered energy and not only theoretical or assessed energy, and of course, cost optimal methodology. So to put our money where our mouth is, we are running a series of calls for the past several years so we are investing a lot on research and innovation through Horizon 2020 and Horizon Europe program. And now I will present you a number of calls only from the last 3 years. We had before 2019 several calls, but the projects are about to close now. So I would like to present you a number of projects that they are still ongoing, and maybe it's worth having a look at the results, even connecting to these projects and exploiting any potential synergies. So starting from 2019 under Horizon 2020 program, we had a call on the smart energy services. 2 projects were funded there. If you click on the links, I can send you the presentation. Of course, you have access to all projects information and contacts to the coordinators. And I have just put in the date of that the projects have started, so that you have an idea how mature they are, if they're starting now, or they can already have some results to demonstrate. So there are 2 projects funding there. Here the projects are demonstrating innovative energy services in real environment across different market segments and energy, and this involves energy and non-energy services. Moving to the next call in 2020. You're very well aware of that. One of the projects is here today, SATO. There is another project, AutoDone, and here projects are developing and demonstrating technological solutions for the self-assessment of actual energy performance of buildings and products that use energy in the buildings. We had 2 calls related to upgrading smartness of existing buildings. Here again, you're very well aware of these calls. In 2019, we funded 3 projects: Phoenix, Rescue VPP, and Domos. These are started in September 2020, and they're about 2 years old projects. So they should have some results to demonstrate. And then Smart2B and COLLECTiEF, which are here today, started a year later. Moving to the next call, that's a call. It's a bit different call. It's about exploiting big data in buildings. So we have selected 3 projects, and the requirement for this from this call was to identify a reference architecture for building data. So projects here are expected to collect different types of data that they're produced in buildings, but also they're sitting on external data repositories, like the energy performance contracting repositories, meteorological data or statistical data that they're existing in different countries, blend them all together in a data analytics toolkit, and provide services to third parties over this toolkit. These are very interesting projects. They are quite mature, 2 years old. Some of them, they even have some demonstrate. They have the toolkits up and running. So I would suggest that you have a look at these projects and see what they're doing there, especially in terms of data architectures and ontologies. They have done an excellent job. Moving to, well, going back to 2019, but also on a different domain, we had a call on the next generation of energy performance assessment certificates. This was a call to prepare the ground for the revision of EPPD. As I said, there is a big effort to upgrade energy performance certificates to include meter data. It's what we call operational rating of buildings compared to asset rating, and we have 4 projects working on this. They're 2 years old, also mature projects, and I would suggest that you reach out to see the results. And then we're moving to Horizon Europe. This was the first call of Horizon Europe back in 2021. We selected 2 projects again on the same domain on energy performance assessment certificates. So there are in total, you can say there are 6 projects ongoing on energy performance certification. The objective is the same as in the previous call from 2019. Again in Horizon Europe. On the first call, but on a different area. Here We are going beyond the building, and we are trying to monitor the evolution of the building stock energy performance, again with using data that they are produced in buildings or that they are elsewhere in data sets that they are external to the buildings, either with the utilities, aggregators, or statistical data. We have two projects here, DigiBuild and Boderate. They are young projects, 6 months old. I don't think they're still on our portal, but soon they will be. So keep the names and have a look on them on their website if you can find it. I'm sure that sooner or later it will be published. And I think that's the last call. This is also a Horizon Europe 2021 call under the Build for People partnership stream of calls that we are having. And this is a bit different. It combines a lot data and energy performance of buildings. So how we can leverage on data to offer performance guarantees using the energy services, energy performance contracting. Also two projects selected here, Bento and Fortesea, very, very young projects. They just started about 2 months ago. And a new generation of projects is coming. We had on this year's call from Horizon Europe, two topics very relevant to smart buildings. So one is about smart buildings for better energy performance, and the other dedicated to demand response technical solutions. Two projects were selected for each of the topics, so in total 4 projects. The evaluations have finished, and soon the applicants will be informed in the next weeks. So keep an eye on these topics as well. And I will close with some upcoming funding opportunities. You know that we have a call with a deadline in January 2023, in 2 months. And there is a very relevant topic there. It's about smart grid ready and smart network ready buildings, acting as active utility nodes. Very, very interesting topic. And I invite you to have a look and apply if you're interested. And of course, many more topics are coming under the core program of Horizon Europe 2023. We have 10 buildings in total, 10 building topics in total. Some of them relevant to smart buildings, as always. And I will invite you to follow the info days on 16th of December. Between 11 and 12:30, we will present the buildings topics at the info day. So that's all. Some links, some resources you can refer to, and this is where you find us. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Stavros. I remind the speakers to stay within their time slot in order to have enough time for the Q&A session at the end, since we already have some questions coming. I remind also the attendees that the questions will be addressed at the end, so stay with us because you will have your answers. So it's now time for Alain Zerly to introduce the clustering activities of the European Construction Technology Platform and Build for People. Alain is Managing Partner at R2M Solution and Secretary General of ECTP. Alain.
Yes. Thank you very much. Hopefully you can hear me loud and clear and see my
yes, we do.
in full screen. Well, many thanks for the invitation and a very good morning to all. I'm going in 10 minutes to introduce you our views indeed on all aspects related to clusters and clusterings, and these indeed cover different types of potential activities. Just as a reminder about ECTP, which is an international association grouping many European member organizations interested in research and innovation to tackle major challenges, of course, which are of interest to the built environment, and for sure digitalization and smart buildings are fully part of these aspects. But I would say that more importantly and more in a more interesting way, ECTP, the LIBIT already itself at the very heart of a overall ecosystem, and it's already about talking cluster and cluster activities. As you can see, we are an association which is formed by different committees targeting different major topics, broadly covering all aspects related to the built environment. And this is already in some way part of our clustering activities. The idea is really indeed to group people on a key topics and have them coming from different horizons with different expertise and working together on those aspects. And in particular, I would like to raise the fact that ECTP has always worked in the field of clustering activities, in particular in terms of leveraging on the clustering of European projects to help, of course, increase the impact of those projects. This is, for instance, the case right now as we are coordinating the Smart Build for EU project, which is a coordinated and support action funded by the European Commission and supported by CINEA, and the objective of which is indeed to support all projects related to smart buildings, including the five ones presented today, in terms of helping them, of course, promoting and increasing visibility of the outcomes of those and of each and every project. So this is one type indeed of clustering, which is very important, of course, for us. Roughly speaking, what we try to extend now is to enable a closer integration of the construction value chain stakeholders. This is something that, of course, the European projects are already doing in general, because there is in general a variety of different stakeholders in those European projects. The idea is, of course, that, well, the idea is to bring those actors on a scale that cannot be achieved via individual project or very locally. But also we would like to help trigger the transformational change in the research and innovation ecosystem for construction and the built environment. And in particular, one of the key objectives from our point of view in the coming decade is really to support all the innovative startups and SMEs in the construction sector to get better visibility, to have better access to resources, should it be technologies or later on, of course, funding and capital, to have a genuine multi-stakeholder involvement, potentially in public and private or private and private collaboration activities, and overall to help them get to the market and provide in some way to them market access and expertise, in particular to Horizon Europe activities. So our views is that we try to do it in a two-way. A first one is definitely that we have been relaunching in a very different way the national construction stakeholders ecosystem linked to ECTP. And I'm not getting to detail this slide. And by the way, I will not detail all the upcoming slides, which are very complex, but we may have a look at them later on and get back to me with a few questions. But the idea is that, well, we have very complex ecosystem, including at a national level. And we need, of course, to have a better ways of organize and structure exchanges and collaboration between all those different actors. It's very important and interesting that indeed the framework program from the European Commission is providing opportunities already to build some of those links. But we do believe that there is a upper level where this kind indeed of ecosystem and clusters will help, of course, leveraging on the very interesting assets and outcomes coming from national and European projects, so that the market can really leverage on those outcomes. And we have this visibility in particular in the context of the Build for People partnership. I'm pretty sure that probably most, if not all of you are aware about this partnership, so I'm not going to describe it in detail. but you know that the scope is really about addressing buildings' climate neutrality, but broadly speaking, sustainability, including circular economy, reducing resource intensity, and putting indeed the end user at the very heart of our future research and innovation. And what we want really to achieve is this long-lasting transformation and behavioral change, and also deliver long-term goals, in particular set by the European Green Deal, but also in relationship with the renovation wave and the new European Bauhaus that has been launched by the European Commission. In this specific context of Build for People, we have, of course, a vision with a set of different actions. But I would like today, of course, and in the short time remaining, to really put the accent on this creation of construction innovation cluster that we hope that at least we will have 10 to 15 in EU by the end of the Horizon framework, of the Horizon Europe framework program. And indeed, the idea is that we want to erase indeed and to support a network of those innovation clusters in European countries that will support the Build for People objectives and targets. And this is, of course, this is for a widespread change of practice in the construction and renovation of the built environment, with the idea that those clusters will be maybe local or regional ecosystem, bringing together actors, various actors along the value chain of the built environment ecosystem, but that will be able indeed to aggregate all the required capital, expertise, and talent to really foster the development of the innovations alongside all the TRL, along the whole TRL scale. And this is something which is very, very important. And that, of course, will be the opportunity in the context of the network for those clusters to also exchange practices and increase collaboration between different clusters. In the context of Build for People, we are currently elaborating potentially a charter that those will be candidates to become Build for People innovation cluster will have in some way to sign, even if it's not legally binding, I would say. But this is something that will allow us, of course, to really clarify and align expectations. Very quickly, you can see here, and once again, I'm not getting into the detail of these, but there are key aspects from us that should characterize our future cluster, and in particular, the Build for People cluster. The fact that all value chain players are represented. The fact that there are ongoing and new relationships and quite a lot of exchange and sharing, of course, of knowledge is something which is very, very important. An easy access to test beds, for instance, or to demo spaces and pilot buildings all over Europe is something which is very, very important. All those points that I'm not going to detail once again are something that will form and that should form the future Build for People innovation cluster. So it's a new dimension for it that we try to create in the context of Build for People. And I'm pretty sure that in relationship with some of those pilots that you are currently developing and operating in the context of your smart building project, there could be some opportunity for you to transform indeed those pilots in a future in potential Build for People innovation cluster. The network that we plan to elaborate will indeed provide quite a set of services to help those clusters sharing knowledge from the new European Bauhaus or the renovation wave, to share more toolbox courses, more innovation and software, for instance, or products and tools that are developed through the various projects that are put in place by those various clusters, should it be, by the way, at a national or European level. And of course, we want to, in particular, really help you to promote promising EU innovation project. That was something that I realized in the EBPPP, in the previous energy efficient building public-private partnership. There was a lot of assets and innovation raising from all those projects, but probably not enough efforts put in order to push and to help those innovation really go to the market. So hopefully this new notion of innovation cluster and Build for People will be one step beyond, of course, to help and support the project, typically your project, in the way to really a better view on what is the market, what is the expectation, how you can leverage on the knowledge of other clusters, and so on and so forth. I will stop there probably because I guess that I've burned my 10 minutes presentation. Thank you very much for your attention. You should feel free, of course, at any time to get back to me if you want to have more information. Here is some information about it. You can get in touch with me, of course, through my email address. You can have a look at the www.ectp.org or also the World Green Building Council, because the two associations are indeed managing the Build for People partnership on the private side. Thank you very much again.
Thanks, Alain. We have a couple of questions, like in terms of organization. Someone is asking if the presentations will be shared. We are actually recording the session, so the video will be available in the next few days on each of the project's websites. So I guess that's the easiest way to get a hold of all the situation here or what we're talking about here today. So we will let you know. Probably we will send an email telling you that that the video is ready. We already have your contacts. Another question is probably to Stavros. Someone is requesting the link for the meeting on the 23rd of December. If you can provide that in the chat, so all the people will have it.
Hello, Fulvio. On
Yes.
23rd of December, there is no meeting. Do you mean the info day on the 16th?
I'm not sure because I can't remember now, but that's the question we got in the chat. So probably that's the one you mean.
Okay, yeah. I guess it's the info day on the 16th. It's on the European Commission website. I will send it here in the chat. Okay,
cool. Thank you very much. Okay. So it's time now to introduce the experience of the projects belonging to the EU4BET cluster. As we said before, a brief video from the project pilots will introduce the end user point of view on the implementation of each solution. Following each video, the related project, its goals, challenges, and unique features will be presented as well. So let's start with the first video experience, the one from SATO project. Following, Guilherme Carrillo de Graça will tell us about the project itself.
Yes, my name is Philippe Bollinger. I work at the Seychelles Municipal Energy Agency, and we represent here the owner of the building, which is the City Council of Seychelles.
In your perspective, what are the main objectives of this pilot in the SATO project?
Our main goal is to get a full picture of energy consumption here in the City Council head offices. It's very important.
For you, as a pilot owner, what does it mean to increase the smartness and the flexibility of your building?
SATO will introduce a fully automated hybrid ventilation system, which is for us very interesting because it means energy reduction.
Why is it relevant for you and other building users to participate in this H2020 project and contribute to the energy transition?
It's very important. We want to learn and do our part. We know that Horizon 2020 always work with state-of-the-art technologies, and for us, we really need to overcome the obstacles we have here in our head office.
We are here in the main atrium, which I'm going to just show. Where there's also users and public interaction between the council and the public. And we can see here some automated windows that already existed. Was this system automatic or manual?
This system is manual, and that's also one of the main interest in implementing the SATO platform here.
Currently you have the atrium that will become automatic, but you will also extend the system into the offices, a part of the offices that communicate with the atrium. Is that on the second floor there, on those windows there? Can you show us?
Yes, indeed. Here on the second floor, we will have open windows that will open automatically.
So we're now at the second floor office, and that's one of the places we'll install a window. Is that correct, Philippe?
Indeed. Here we will have windows that will open, and also on the other side, which are windows open to the exterior, we also have the possibility to open the windows, which allows cross ventilation, which is very important.
Okay, should I go ahead and present, right, Fulvio?
Yes, Guilherme.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so this amadoristic video that we produced with Philippe's help, in my perspective, it's quite interesting because it gives us a vision of the challenges and opportunities that this pilot brought into SATO. SATO is a project that aims to develop and apply machine learning and artificial intelligence control strategies to assess and optimize whole building energy consumption. So we have two challenges. On the one side, develop and identify the best machine learning strategies for building energy control. I would see that as one significant challenge. And the other one relates to making every large energy consuming device in a given building, making those devices IoT enabled and cloud controlled, or at least have information on the cloud about those devices. When we bring enhanced controls to buildings, in most climates, I would say in Europe, but particularly in the mild climate of most of Portugal and the Lisbon region where Seixal is located. So when we bring these enhanced and improved control strategies to buildings, we need buildings that can take advantage of that. And what's interesting about this pilot is that in the next month, Seixal will install windows that did not exist. They will be automated, so operated by motors and controlled by SATO. And this is an investment triggered by the project, which is very encouraging for us. And with that possibility, we can really make a dent and reduce the energy consumption of this modern office building that at the moment cannot fully use the outdoor environment. So they have an atrium with natural ventilation that Philippe showed us, but this atrium has really interesting possibilities as a buffer zone for the offices that communicate to the atrium and that also have windows facing north and south. The deployment of this SATO-controlled hybrid system, hybrid in the sense that if it's very warm or super cold, we can use HVAC, but if it's mild, we expect to be working with open windows and zero HVAC energy use. So the deployment of this mild system will be performed, let's say, in the context of SATO and allow, we hope, for significant energy savings. Now, how does SATO overall aim to do this? So we have 16 partners. We go into different climates. I will not be talking about all the partners because, of course, it's not the main point. But just to say, we have cold weather pilots in Aalborg, in a housing cooperative and an office building. We have a housing building in Milan. We have a modern office in Austria. And we have several pilots in Portugal, including some retail stores by Vorten, where we are also upgrading the building capabilities, again, with small investments triggered by SATO, which we find very encouraging. We have a BIM partner, SAIP,
because we want to enhance the capabilities of BEAM or tackle into the capabilities of BEAM as a way of visualizing energy performance. So we'll be developing, and we are halfway through the project, and a platform that can talk to different devices in the buildings, where we perform assessments about energy performance of buildings. Because we are able to tackle into current energy consumption of the building, we can perform a set of assessments of the quality of this energy performance by comparing the building with itself and with other buildings using historical data and current measured data. So clearly we are going in this direction that was mentioned before this morning of having a comparison with real data, real-time comparison with real data, in this case in the form of assessments. So we assess the building, see how different features of the building are operating, what's the performance of the heat pump, what's the performance of the lighting system, what's the building occupancy, a super important parameter, what's the outside weather, and then we have services that control systems in buildings to reduce the energy consumption, maintaining the performance or improving the performance. So the platform works, the digital platform works from the goals that we have in each building, the use cases, up to controlling the building and getting data from the building. And it's layered in the sense that we are continuously performing assessments using the sensors in the buildings, and in some cases, let's call it smart assessments that aggregate different sensors into a new assessment, which is interesting. And then we have control services and diagnose services and fault detection services running on the assessments. There is this significant challenge of incorporating different devices with different data protocols that we are tackling in our project. And so far, where are we? So we are at a phase where the pilots are coming online. It has been pretty difficult, but we are on track to bring all the pilots online, and in some cases, pilots with increased capabilities. We already have a good view that BEAM is a tool sorry, that can go beyond project, building design and maintenance, and go into visualization of energy data. So that is proven to be quite a potential breakthrough in this sense. And of course, we see that most buildings are very far from being IoT and cloud enabled. And at the fourth level, we need to break this barrier between building energy data and users, in the sense that it's not just about making the data available to the users. We also need to provide them with simple data that they can understand. So simple key performance indicators that users can understand and follow easily. So the next phases of the project will enhance our energy services and collect data from the pilots, which we're getting into a very exciting phase for our project. And that's it for today. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Guilherme. It's now turn to learn more about the COLLECTiEF project. Let's watch the video experience. Then Amin Mouazzami, COLLECTiEF's coordinator, will introduce the project.
Fulvia, I have integrated it into the presentation. So if that's okay, I start
sure.
with the PowerPoint.
Perfect.
Thanks. Yes, hello everyone. I'm Amin Mouazzami. I'm coordinator of the project COLLECTiEF, and I'm here today to present one of our pilot sites, which is the 7 Norwegian buildings that we have as pilot cases in our project. First of all, thank you to Smart2B to enable this cluster, and the main goal is to share knowledge, experience. I really appreciate the opportunity. So COLLECTiEF, it's one of the 2 projects under the call that also Stavros presented earlier, that we with the aim of upgrading smartness level of existing buildings. We are 14 partners with 4 years timeline and 4 pilot sites. As mentioned, the project has been shaped around the SRI methodology and framework, where the goal is that the smartness level of the buildings are assessed based on the 3 functionality, having an optimized operation regarding energy efficiency, but also including the needs of the occupants and the needs of the grid, which could be, for example, energy flexibility and having a grid interactive building. So based on this, COLLECTiEF aims looking into the existing building stock, which is the majority of the building stock with either with very low smartness level according to the SRI. So the goal is to upgrade these buildings to a higher level of smartness. And what we do, we basically want to introduce a new set of hardware and software package to the buildings, where this enables us to integrate the system into the system and apply some smart controls through interfaces. So either we would, for example, integrate to the heating system in a residential building through a smart thermostat, or it could be to a large building through a BMS system. We have also a sensing unit, which allows us to understand better the internal condition for the decision making, and also a interface to provide information to the user. So this is the point of the building, and we call this an edge node, which has this 5 components. It has the hardware for interoperability and applying the actions and the controls. And also we have a communication to what we call a cluster node. And the aim of the cluster node is actually to coordinate or edge nodes on a cluster level. And this is basically also the perspective of the end user today comes, because at the cluster level, you have some of the end users, for example, a large building owner that has a portfolio of many buildings, and they would like to coordinate the buildings to provide flexibility to, for example, the flexibility market, the existing flexibility market. So this is the aim. We focus on the scalability of the solution, so it can be scaled up to many buildings or many edge nodes, which makes it a sensible or values or amount of flexibility to be able to bid in a, for example, flexibility market. So we have 4 pilot sites, and my focus today is on the Ålesund in Norway, where we actually have 7 buildings, and all the 7 buildings are owned by the municipality. And under the municipality, there is an organization called OK, which is our partner. And OK responsibility is for facility management and also running the building stock that Ålesund municipality has. So basically, OK is the building owner. They have a large building stock up to 270,000 square meter. Different typology of buildings from sport halls, healthcare centers, schools, and so on. So we have also in these 7 buildings a diversity of different functionalities in buildings. So OK is our partner, and they're also responsible for the technical equipments and running, for example, reducing the energy cost or improving the energy efficiency of the portfolio. So here is Per Martin, who is our key person at the municipality who helps us a lot. He's very technical himself, so very happy to have him on board. So he's here. He's given the interview.
There is no audio, I mean,
Right.
see if it's a setting there or...
No, I did actually press sharing the sound. So
we can maybe have a backup here. We can start the video from somewhere else. Anna,
sure.
for example.
I can try again if you want, because now I said include computer sound.
Yeah, sure. Let's try again.
I did last time as well, I think so, but I'll do it again now.
Yeah.
Sorry for the...
Yes, Ålesund Municipality
Any help?
wants 7 buildings for this collective project. Short-term goals is to aid the academia and local university with the testbed for this project. Long-term, we're looking at getting more energy flexibility and energy savings for not only these 7 buildings, but all buildings in our portfolio. We use a lot of man hours to optimize our buildings. And now with the changing climate and more extreme weather, these tasks become more and more difficult. So what it means to us to increase the smartness and flexibility of our buildings is that the buildings themselves should manage more and more of these things themselves without the use of technicians. And in that way reduce energy cost and load on the grid. Yes, Ålesund Municipality is the building owners, and in our business model, the users pay the power bill themselves. So being a part of this project, they will reduce their own power bill, and that way their overall costs. And we also hope that this project will increase their awareness of power consumption and how it affects the climate and the system.
Okay. Yeah. So basically, as Per Martin mentioned, one of the key for having a successful demonstration in these pilot buildings was to have a good communication with the end users in the buildings. We have 7 buildings. There are schools, there are elementary schools, there are nursery and healthcare centers. So we had to go to the buildings, we had to talk to the teachers, we had to talk to the parents, we had to talk to the nurses to make it possible for not only the technical installation and access to the building, or which we did with the management as well, but also since we have a system set up for feedback loop from the users, approach. This was not possible, of course, without the involvement of the users on a good level. So we had several meetings in the buildings, also in other pilots, for example, in Italy and Cyprus, where we presented the project. We have had also sub meetings, side meetings, where we described also the technical issues and so on. So we are now at this phase here where we have already started our monitoring of the buildings where we installed the sensors, and we are going to present some of the data that we have collected to the users to keep them engaged into the project, and also provide them some insight to this data that we have collected, and which is about the indoor air quality. It's about the energy consumption and so on. So we hope that will help them also increase their awareness and engagement. So we continue with the monitoring for a year, and then we have 2 years demonstration. And actually, Ålesund is a key in our project because that's where we fully demonstrate all 7 buildings in a cluster and run also test the cluster node as well. Just an insight to the buildings. So here is, for example, a healthcare center where the elderlies are taken care of, and they all have their own suite or rooms. So here we wanted to, we have a monitoring process. These are our sensor, which are multi-parameter sensors. We want to know what the users experience as close as possible to the area where they use the most of their time. So we have installed, for example, in this case, the sensors close to their beds. This is one example. We have, as I said, several different typology of buildings. Here is the school with the offices for the teachers. Again, we try to be as also intrusive as possible. For example, here the nurses were involved. For locating the sensors, so it's not on their way when they help the users and so on. Also in the school, we had challenges. It should be out of access of the students. Of course, here it's a bit far from the environment that they experienced the most, but still we couldn't also possibly get that close to, because yeah, so it should be out of touch for them. In this case, we put it on the ceiling in the center and so on. And then we had, as I said, a loop for feedback, continuous feedback from the user. So we created these QR codes that also, for example, here in this case, the teacher, we ask for 3 times per week, any time of the week, any time of the day. Just take 5 minutes, ask the students to scan it and give us feedback, for example. Or also in the offices, we have different approaches for them to scan the QR code. Just to also share, this is what it brings them to. So it's a thermal comfort assessment procedure. Here is in Norwegian. We had to translate in different. So it's interesting because, for example, to develop this questionnaire here, it's ask them about who you are. It's about their age because here is for the schools. We had to discuss even the color of the, for gender. So we indirectly identify the gender here. Or we also have the option of, I don't want to answer to this question. So it's very interesting to get into this discussion. We had this discussion with the teachers as well. The clothing level, this is a standard questionnaire for understanding to be able to assess the thermal comfort. Activity, we also developed a bit of the icons to help student or the smaller children also to be able to give us the questionnaire. So we are collecting also these questionnaires to complete our assessment, and we will provide this information back to the users to keep them engaged. Yeah, please keep in touch with us for the project. Any information other information you would need, you would like us to share with you something, I'm very open for that. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Amin. Let's go now with PRELUDE project, its pilot experience and introduction by Michal Pomianowski, project coordinator of the project. Please, Michal.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for this introduction. Let me share the presentation. So I will present the PRELUDE project, which is a 42 months project. Now we are in the 24th month of the operation of the project, so we are semi-advanced in the project. We are 10 countries and 21 partners, so it's quite large project with, of course, pilots and demonstrations. And all in all, the objective of this project is to assess buildings and help operate it in a smarter way towards energy saving and improved comfort for mostly for the residential buildings. So the pilot cases, the residential buildings that we have in our project, they are generally low-tech buildings, to be honest. So I have put them in a smartness level here, as you can see on this slide. So, but not to make a false impression here, the ones that are on the right side doesn't mean that they are high smartness level buildings that have developed actuator systems, etc. Majority of the buildings here are people operated. So what is here available, or what we made available in these buildings, is mostly the measuring infrastructure that can measure the energy use, that can measure the indoor comfort in the buildings, etc. So to some extent, we are also measuring the energy, and most of the activation is done by people. Only on the right-hand side, some of the residential buildings can do some kind of automation control, but it's still, from our experience, it is not very flexible systems that we have actually experience in this building. So there are several modifications that we are working on to make the systems more flexible. On the very right-hand side on this scale, you can see a living lab case, which is a special case for us because it's advanced building. It is not residential building, but we are using it to prove the concept and to make a validation of the technologies that we are developing, where we have a more control over the parameters. We have a more possibilities of the control, basically, of the building environment, etc. So this is a living lab. When we are done with the living lab testing, we are then transferring our knowledge and experiences towards the residential buildings and try to adapt our developments there. On top of these buildings, we have also one very interesting case, which is a district heating case with focus on smart heat meters data. This is actually the case that is run by Aalborg University, and we are in possession of 30,000 heat meters data from 30,000 households that are connected to the district heating, and we will use this data to assess the buildings, to also find fault detection in these buildings, and to do the characteristic of the buildings that are connected to the district heat system, but just at the level of the substation, so the heat meter data to the entire household level, not going inside into the building. Okay. Maybe step back here. As you can see here, we have a Turin pilot, which is 4 places basically on the scale, on the smartness level. And why is that? It's simply because throughout the project we have, our partner has implemented several levels of smartness level into these apartments that were agreed to participate in our project. So what you can see here, this is the case in Torino in Italy, which is a multi-apartment building block that comes from a period of 1960 to 70, where we have in total 30 apartments, and 8 apartments has been actively involved in a PRELUDE project, and have been to high extent equipped with the monitoring system that allow us to monitor what is happening in the building, and to some extent to do some actions in the building, but still I would say that the actuators here in this demonstration case is human being. So we need to have the tenants on board to actively participate in the project. What you can see here, we have a Raspberry Pis in all of the flats. We have electrical meter at home, electrical cabinet level. We have smart thermo valves on the radiators. We have air quality monitoring devices in some of the apartments. Then we have a smart plugs in some of the apartments as well. We have window opening sensors that can detect what extent the apartments are naturally ventilated. We have a smart bulb in just one, and the presence sensor for the occupancy detection in also just one apartment. So you can see different level of equipment of these apartments. Now we have also one small video that was shared from our partner from Italy with attendance of one of the occupants of this apartment. So I will play to you. I hope there is a voice. Let's see. Let me tell. Let me know if you can hear it.
Hi all. The main target of a PRELUDE project is to understand how technology and the Internet of Things can be used to our planet. As pollution increases, I think that it's very, very important to have an European project that have this target for our future. Actually, introduce IoT in daily life with sensor that connect alone can help me to have the best life comfort, saving money, and above all, saving planet with small human effort after the first configuration. Thank you for PRELUDE 2020, and I hope that our contribution is only the first step for future development of this type of implementation. And if you have the sensors to use, I'm ready to test it. Bye.
Okay, so this is the experience of some of the, or attitude of some of the residents, but not again to send a false impression. Not always we have such a positive attitude from all of the participants. We can see that there is actually a mix of very positive attitude of people, young people who, or even older people who want to host the new technologies. They want to actually help the projects like PRELUDE. They can see point of what we are doing, but on the other hand, there are also some people who are lacking the trust, do not allow us entering their private spaces and refuse to actually participate in such a project. So I can see as a project coordinator, we have two types of attitudes, one welcoming this kind of activities and some not trusting and not welcoming. So I think we have to do more of these pilots and demonstration in order to propagate the trust among the private private households in the private household environment. Okay, I will try to go further. Okay. Where is our focus in the project? Where we are focusing on realizing energy efficiency. So it is not a promise of simulation, but realization of the energy efficiency. And this we can do only by being able to get through to the owners of the building. We are also targeting indoor climate improvements. By that, actually, what we are doing is avoidance of installation of mechanical systems. So by doing this improvement, we are targeting the activation of passive solutions such as natural ventilation, shading activation by tenants, or to some extent where possible, also some actuation systems in the building if present. We are also targeting fault detection at the system level, but as well at the building level. And we are working also towards renovation suggestions towards smart technologies implementation in the buildings. What we do, everything is data driven. So the building assessment is data driven, and this is done up to real time. And also in our project, short-term forecasting up to 24/7 hours ahead. For that, we have occupancy detection and occupancy forecasting, and as well for weather forecasting and energy balance forecasting modules. We work with different building smartness. So we are including different smartness level from very low automation level to, in our living lab case, to high automation level as well. And for that, we need to have a very, let's say, adaptable and flexible solution, basically. So what our concept is based on the modular concept. We have in total, we have 16 exploitable results, which I unfortunately cannot present to you here because of the limited time. But we have grouped this, or we have clustered these 16 exploitable results into 4 business use cases that you can see here. One of them is simply on the monitoring of the situation in the building. Second one is on the maintenance and fault detection and detection of anomalies. Third one is on a clustering and aggregation of what we can measure in the buildings, and the last one is on building renovation activities. What is peculiar or special in our case is that, well, I would say our system is quite flexible because we work with residential buildings. This is very diffuse environment with a lot of providers, with a lot of technologies that have different protocols that communicate different way, etc. That are nationally based, basically. We need to be flexible. So and on top of that, we have our exploitable results, so the technologies that we develop. So we need to communicate everything with everything, basically. And this we do by a middleware solution, which is called Fusix in our case. That is in a short way, it's a decision support system that can integrate data from different environments, and it's technology agnostic. It can also do the storage of the data, and it can support the communication between the modules that we develop. So everything, instead of going from every technology developer to each building, is connected in through this middleware solution, which gives us this flexibility in the project. Okay, not to make the presentation any longer, I will finish here. Thank you for your attention, and if you have any further questions, please contact me in this given email, mzp@buildaau.dk. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Michal. It's now turn to learn more about the PRECEPT project. Let's watch the video experience. Then Christos Tsouvaras from PRECEPT will introduce the project.
Thank you, Fulvio. I have also integrated in the presentation. I will share my screen.
Yes.
So, hello everyone. My name is Chris from Vattenfall. Vattenfall is a utility company, a natural gas and electricity supplier here in Greece, and is also the coordinator and the dissemination and communication manager of the PRECEPT project. The PRECEPT project brings together 9 commercial partners, 5 recent centers, and 1 standardization body across 10 different European countries. And the problem that gave birth to the PRECEPT idea is the low energy performance of buildings, of residential buildings, because residential buildings consist 75% of Europe's building stock. However, only 7.7% of them, according to 2019 statistics, are smart and energy efficient. As a result, they are plagued with a lot of problems, the most important of which is their high energy consumption and inflated bills. So the goal of the PRECEPT project is to support a smooth and almost zero cost transformation of traditional buildings into highly efficient and proactive ones. When we talk about proactive, we talk about acting before the event and acting according to scheduling. The process that PRECEPT follows is installing Internet of Things sensors that provide us with building occupancy patterns, equipment performance, and energy usage trends, and a proactive predictive building management system based on the edge coordinates the operation of the entire system. This means that there are no building construction prerequisites, there is a minimal intervention, almost zero cost for transformation and maintenance of devices, because it's mostly Internet of Things sensors, and everything is plug and play. When it comes to the pilots, all systems and technology here in Greece in such a smart house, which is a house dedicated to testing technologies. It is owned by CERT, a very large research center here in Greece. And after these technologies are validated there, they are validated further in real-life use cases in 5 different demonstration sites in 5 different countries, in another one in Greece, in Spain, in Germany, in the Netherlands, and in Ukraine. Now we are going to watch a video that my colleague Kanela Karagia recorded, and she's presenting the answers of our Greek pilot participants.
There is no audio, Chris.
Let me share again.
Mm-hmm.
From which is the coordinator of PRECEPT project.
Good now.
Also, as the representative of the Greek pilot, we asked the pilot owner and tenants some questions. Let's see their answers. PRECEPT vision is to transform traditional reactive residential buildings into highly efficient and proactive ones with the minimum cost of transformation. PRECEPT solutions are demonstrated in 5 real-life demonstration sites across Europe. These buildings reside in different climatic regions and energy markets, comply with diverse building codes and regulations, while they had been built using very different energy systems, construction components and tools, and other building amenities. The shared objective of all pilots is to validate the PRECEPT product across several market segments and different actors in the value chains in order to quantify its impact and ensure its market uptake. For this reason, an extra pre-validation site is also used in Greece to enable testing of the integrated solution before the actual deployment to the final users. For the pilot occupants, the main pilot objective is to upgrade the functionality and energy efficiency of their homes. For the pilot owners, a smart building uses advanced technology and acts autonomously to enable a more economical use while creating a safe and comfortable environment for occupants. Flexi buildings are described in most cases as buildings designed to easily change part of their construction, like movable element or other energy parameters. In many cases, a flexi building is described as an energy-efficient house filled with low energy-consuming devices. From the point of pilot users, they come to the table with different expectations, different experience, and even different attention levels. The main incentive behind their participation in an Horizon 2020 project is the expected energy savings that are translated mainly into financial terms, as well as their contribution to the protection of the environment.
Give me 1 second. Yes. So how does PRECEPT work? Internet of Things sensors are placed in the pilot users' homes. We can see some sensors right here, like air quality sensors, smart plugs, motion sensors, multi-sensor smart meters, and they provide us with indoor environmental conditions, energy storage, energy production, and other data. 6D BIM models are used to integrate not only building construction parameters, but also parameters of its environmental performance. 6D BIM technology, building life information, building capturing methods, and energy modeling are exploited to build the digital twin platform that provides a real-time digital representation of smart proactive buildings. Federated learning and fog flow technologies for modeling the dynamic behavior of the building achieve accurate and personalized energy consumption predictions, especially for specific appliances, for example, washing machines and dishwashers. On these figures, the red lines are the predictions, the green lines are the actual consumption, and as we can see, they're really close. On this slide, it's the same point. And finally, smart grid tools based on AI systems are used for implementing demand response strategies according to the grid status and making the appropriate decisions, such as reducing and or shifting the energy consumption of buildings. Responsible predictive analytics and control modeling is responsible for delivering data-driven models of building energy use and thermal behavior. We use three models to do that, three systems, I'm sorry. And as we can see on the below figures, we achieve a lower total net electricity consumption. The predictive and prescriptive building management system of the PRECEPT project provides a complete overview of the homes. We can see that we can have luminance, temperature, humidity, lighting, occupants, and everything that is needed to control our homes. The operational platform provides users with the aggregate visualization of the building data to have everything in one place. And the social collaboration platform aims to improve stakeholder collaboration. It's a platform that people can use to post in the news feed, to direct message each other, and to post do-it-yourself tutorials and best practices for all the community members. Both of these platforms can be found on the PRECEPT mobile app, which consists of single point access for the user. On this slide, we can have a look at the architecture, everything that we mentioned before. But the one thing that is worth mentioning is that everything goes through this central part here, the security and privacy layer, which guarantees the security and privacy of the user data. So what PRECEPT tries to achieve is energy savings, improvement in indoor quality, reduction of operational costs, reduction in downtimes, 100% use of res and storage resources on building level, decrease in maintenance cost, increase in the device's efficiency, user satisfaction and acceptance, reduction in peak energy use, and the payback period shorter than 4 years. If you visit our website, you can have a look at our marketing materials, our banners, our newsletters, our brochures, our videos. Feel free to visit us there or on our social media, and we'll be very happy to hear from you. Thank you for your attention.
Thanks a lot, Chris. So quickly, last but not least, we have now the experience of Smart2B. Nuno Mateus, project coordinator, will introduce the project unique features. Nuno.
You can all see my screen, right?
Yes.
Okay, so good morning all. I will try to quickly give you an overview about how in Smart2B we are trying to improve the smartness of the buildings, but also making the users an active part of the system. That is the main topic of today. So just an overview about Smart2B. in Smart2B, we are mainly aiming to develop a full ecosystem comprising Smart2B devices platform and Smart2B intelligence service that will allow to reduce energy costs, promote energy savings, and enable communication between not only with the grid, with the buildings, but also with the users, requesting their feedback and providing their and replying to their needs. For that, and because it's the topic today, we have 5 main pilots. Three of them, they are residential ones, 2 in Portugal and another one in Denmark. Then we have 2 additional non-residential buildings, one in Spain that is office space, and a big shopping mall also in Sweden. So today, and about the experience that we will try to share with you, we'll bring Filomena from Santa Casa Misericórdia, that is one of the partners that we have in the project, and is leading the activities in 9 different buildings that are mainly foster homes for young kids and young adults. Besides the deployment of the Smart2B ecosystem that we aim to be a success and tested, we are also promoting and developing a sustainability program in order to educate these kids and give them access to new technologies that promote also the energy transition. So let's try to hear Filomena.
The objectives of school pilots building in Smart2B project are to increase their smartness and energy efficiency while increasing internal comfort. However, for us, Santa Casa, the main goal is involving the resident of the building, children, teenagers, and young adults of the foster home in the terms of energy savings and sustainability, motivating them to also be part of the energy transition. For that, we plan to design a sustainability program. Buildings are one of the biggest contributors to the release of polluting gas into the atmosphere. Increasing their intelligence means making them more energy and financially efficient, easier to use, and also contributing to cleaner environment. Why is it relevant to take part of this project Smart2B? First of all, shape the current and the future behavior of these young and children to improve the energy efficiency of the building where they live. The program of the sustainability Smart2B we want to build would be very adaptable to many other social contexts, for example, school, local communities, and so on. And we try to disseminate this program in the other kind of context. The SCMLE, the Santa Casa of Municipal Lisboa, is a social laboratory that has served as a model for other social organizations in many areas. With this project, we also intend to become a reference in teaching sustainability energy program for young children and young adults.
So, as you can hear directly from the responsible in the project, from our partners Santa Casa Misericórdia, in Smart2B, we do not want only to have the technical perspective of energy transition, but also become the users and involve young kids also in this transition. And for that, of course, we need to deploy the technical things that we are developing in the project, but we need to align that with this informed program about everything that we are doing and also teaching them how to promote and to make their path in this energy transition. So now I will try to show and explain what we are developing in Smart2B that will support these activities. So as I explained before, we are developing a full ecosystem. The first layer of this ecosystem comprises smart devices. So we have two main partners developing plugs, smart plugs, AC plugs, solar plugs, meters, gateways, also indoor air comfort sensors that will allow us to monitor and also to actuate through the existing systems in the buildings. Then these devices will be connected to our platform. Sorry, and that will gather all this information and deal with that with some knowledge layer embedded in this platform that will allow us also to gather and deal with this data, even in the case that our services are not running well. And then we have our main knowledge layer that are 9 diverse intelligent services that will be deployed in the majority of the 5 pilots that we have. Basically, they use machine learning algorithms in order to optimize the energy use in every buildings, reduce the energy consumption, the energy costs. We also have some predictive maintenance services and a final service that will give advice to the users about how to use their appliances and how to upgrade the overall SRI level of the buildings. Finally, we need to make the bridge between these technological layers with the users and involve them in the system. So at least in Smart2B, the concept, on the right side, you can see just a small demo about the actual status of development of our app that will make this bridge between the users and Smart2B. So we have 3 main objectives here. Provide knowledge to the users about their energy patterns in terms of energy consumption, of course, production, but also in terms of the comfort in the houses. So basically everything that we are monitoring there. Besides that, we also would like to provide easy to understand KPIs that could be used to understand better what we are talking about. In the second part, we would like to show and reveal how their buildings will be when compared with similar buildings in our platform, and it's this part of the video, so we can have also this compare functionality that allow us to show and reveal how we are when compared with the other buildings in the platform. Then a relevant part that we have in our system is that we are not able to control all the appliances in the houses, even with smart plugs. So we need the participation of the users, and what is shown here is the user feedback component, where they will directly on the app define on time how they are feeling in terms of comfort and indoor air quality. Here we can see they can also define some general preference about the usage of their appliances, their HVAC systems, how they would like to run our intelligence layer. So the optimization that Smart2B will perform could be more with the objective of money savings or in terms of the environment, and they can also define that on our platform. So we really require an involvement and the participation of the users. And for that, we have a final module in our interface that is the gamification component that essentially will try to promote, will use the game theory and some recurrent activities to try to engage the users and make them using our platform, also with some recommendations and advice about how to upgrade the smartness of the building. And finally, we have the user in the loop service that will push up some notifications through the app about move this load to another schedule because you will save X money or something like that. So as you can see, our platform, it's impossible, I would say, almost impossible to run. Of course, we can have some automated algorithms, and the smart plugs and other actuation sensors will be connected to the active systems in order to promote a basic actuation. But I would say that in the end, the user's perspective, their preferences, their needs will be also gathered through this interface, and the system will actuate or give advice about how to improve and upgrade the energy efficiency in these houses. Just to finalize my presentation, besides that, and because the topic today is users, we are using since the proposal stage this user-centric approach in order to gather users' perspective about all the developments that we are doing in the project, since how the device could be connected, the problems that are in terms of connecting them in a building that is mainly used by kids. Of course, as you can imagine, after some weeks, there are several plugs that are unplugged. So this is a problems that we are facing, but of course, I think is part of our path until reaching the fully deployment of Smart2B ecosystem in the pilots. So thanks for your time. Any questions that you may have, please feel free.
Thank you, Nuno. So we can step to the Q&A session. We are quietly running out of time. So we have a couple of questions. Stavros is, I guess, still online. We have a question for him. Stavros, are you there?
I am here, yes. And
Cool.
I followed very with much interest all the presentations, indeed.
Good, very good. We're happy about that. So the question is, will there be financial incentives for the overall digitalization of existing buildings?
Yes, there will be. And there are many tools for that. One is the funding programs of innovation. Horizon Europe is a program that you are very well aware of, but a huge program is starting now. I think it's called Digital Europe. I'm not very well aware because it's not run within our agency. I think it's run from another agency. But there will be funding opportunities there also for smart buildings. Indeed, I will put in the chat of this meeting the link to the action plan on digitalization of the energy system, where in the end, in the last pages of the action plan, you can find the next steps that I shortly presented in my presentation. In these steps, you can find also where the European Commission will invest and with what types of instruments. So it will be different types of investments, not only in research and innovation through these programs, Horizon Europe and Digital Europe, but also direct investments in grids, smart buildings, and digitalization action. So yes, policy comes with investment, indeed.
Thank you very much, Stavros. We have a question for Amin. You're there, Amin, right? Yes. Do you find that placing the sensors in the middle of the room and in the ceiling is overall the best location to collect data from?
Yeah, it's that's interesting because of course we with this type of projects we are moving from a research perspective to more operational perspective and dealing with the local conditions. So when we go to these spaces, there are really needs of the users to be seen, and it's very challenging to place using, for example, scientific approaches and make sure the sensor is located, I don't know, at the head level. You know, for thermal assessment, you have 3 levels and so on. Of course, it's not the most scientific approach, but it was the most feasible approach and most let's say sustainable, because it, for example, the ceiling was out of touch of the students. So to make sure the sensor will be properly functioning for the period of the project. But honestly, just sharing one point about that is that when we go to the spaces, there are many. The BMS system has its own sensors allocated in the space, and we saw like there is a sensor above the radiator. This is the BMS system sensing the environment. So this is a very interesting discussion in general, because that's actually affecting the decision making of all the smart controls that we are discussing. I hope I answered. All right. Yeah.
Thank you, Amin. We're really running out of time. We have other 3 questions. One is for SATO. Unfortunately, Guilherme left the session because he had, but we have Federico Melo who can answer the questions,
I can answer the question. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So the first question is, could BIM softwares like SAP or Revit be able to retrieve energy consumption information from SATO platform and integrate it into building modeling data?
I think so, but that kind of question I have to ask to SAP. But the main idea is to not to input data on the BIM's project, but to retrieve information about the placing of sensors and other systems, and some of the specification of the systems to be able to perform the assessments and services design in SATO.
Thanks. There's another question for you, Federico. SATO project, and they also say inputs from others are welcomed, of course. How do you measure occupancy in the office buildings, especially keeping in mind privacy issues?
Right now, we are implementing a IFI-based methodology to assess the occupational level inside buildings, managing the privacy issues. The framework is able to forget in 1 second the position of the occupant, so there are no really issues about privacy. I think this is a question. I don't know.
Probably yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. We have one other question. That's for Chris, PRECEPT. You there, Chris?
Yes, I'm here.
What are you cutting off and how to reduce consumption when needed? What are you piloting?
Let's begin with the easy one. We're piloting residential buildings, so we don't have the issues that SATO was asked about office buildings. Now, what are we cutting off? It's not exactly that we're cutting off something, because we don't want to inconvenience the user in any way. We're trying to lower the consumption by, for example, switching off lights when occupancy is not detected in certain areas. We are trying to use flexible electricity consumption techniques like demand response to flatten the curve of consumption, let's say. We are trying to, of course, exploit 100% the renewable energy sources, if there are any. That's the main ways to not inconvenience the user, make his or her life better, and lower energy consumption.
Thank you, Chris. So there's also another question, which is more related to the EU4BET cluster. Axel is asking, is there a group or network to keep up to date with the advancements of the projects? At the moment, we have each project involved in the EU4BET cluster as a web page, a dedicated web page on the project website. So that's the best way to keep up with the updates. There will be, of course, there's a news section dedicated to the web page in some cases, so you can actually learn what's going on within the EU4BET project and what's coming out of this collaboration. Anyhow, as a cluster, we are also participating in the Horizon Results Booster, which is a tool provided by the European Commission, and that will allow us as a cluster to produce a joint common dissemination plan. That will be useful because we will be setting in the next few months and probably years more activities, more things that we will be doing all together. That means that we probably will be creating some kind of common communication tools. That means, for example, a social media common page in which we will provide, news about the cluster and the related projects. So to answer the question, I guess this is the answer to the question. At the moment, you have to rely on each project dedicated web page on the website. In the future, probably there will be a common environment in which you will be able to see the advancements. Stavros, you have a question?
Yes, I have a question, Fulvio. That's indeed very interesting, and thanks for this clustering initiative. You know that we are trying from our side as well to bring projects together, at least projects that work in the same domain and at the same level of maturity. So my question is, I presented earlier a list of 20-25 projects that they are more or less in the same domain. And do you find any potential there to broaden the cluster?
There was that's an interesting question, because at one point when we were forming the cluster, we were really keen in involving as many projects as possible. But at one point we looked at each other in the eyes and we said, okay, guys, it's quite demanding, to be honest, to be on top of everything, okay, to manage, like we are very busy as projects, and the activities are a lot, okay. So to actually have 5 projects already to do something all together, it is quite demanding. So when we looked each other in the eyes, we said, we think that 5 it's a good number of projects, and we should stop here, okay. That comes out as a suggestion, in terms of clustering, also for in other situations, because we think that maybe adding too many projects, that would affect the effectiveness of certain actions. Okay, so clusters maybe like either they're super very organized, and then you can also involve other projects. Otherwise, keeping a limited number of projects would be a good thing. That's my, and I guess our opinion as EU4BET.
I have a follow-up question. So I got your point. That's very clear. My question is, do you expect something from us? Is there some point that we can help?
I think we can talk about that. I think we can talk about that because, of course, we formed the cluster pretty recently. Okay, so for example, this webinar is basically the first time that we are gathering all together in such a complex way, let's say. We're participating into the Horizon Results Booster. We will have a dissemination plan very soon. And I believe that we will have more things to do all together. And I think that your help at one point might be needed. And I guess that we will be in contact, like to find new opportunities, to disseminate the project results. Also because, some of the projects are reaching, the end. Others are reaching, the phase in which the dissemination of the results now is important. It's not more like it's not anymore like communicating about the project, raising awareness. Now we're talking about results. As we saw today, we have devices now. I mean, we have implementations. We are talking about the real stuff, right? So yes, in the future we will be in touch, and your help will be much needed.
Okay, thanks. Just before I close, I'm just posting now in the chat the link to our CINEA website, where we have a page that it's called Featured Projects, where we publish exactly that, results, what we call success stories from projects. It can be from one project or groups of projects. And the CINEA website obviously is just a landing page. The message is disseminated through our newsletter with 30 or 40,000 recipients and the agency's channels. So I can offer you this opportunity now, and reach out to me whenever you have something worth, communicating.
Well, that sounds very tempting. Thank you. Yes. Amin, you have a question?
Yeah, I just got the answer from Stavros. So I think it would be amazing to have if it's possible to have a platform for reaching out to more audience and basically helping with the communication. I think today we could be definitely more if we could, for example, use the CINEA platform. So yeah, that would be very nice, of course, for next event.
Okay. So I think we don't have questions anymore. So this is the end of the session. We ran a little bit late, but I think it was worth it. We saw a lot of interesting things. So goodbye, everyone. Thank you for joining the EU4BET first webinar session, and have a nice weekend. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you for
Have a nice
listening.
day. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks a lot.